Nick, very good to see you. Today, we are going through the 5 questions you need to answer before you retire. To design your ideal retirement, you need to start with a few specific questions. And of course, if you are married, we suggest you do this exercise together. But the first question, Nick, is when do you want to retire?
And this is not some arbitrary date that you just whoop, I'm going to pluck it out of the air. And I think some people, that's what it gets to be an emotional decision. It's like they go to work, they have a really bad day, they come home, and they're like, now I'm just going to be out of here.
I've done that
And
before.
right. And it's just like, but then I'm not going to work ever again. And
Yeah.
so there's a lot of planning that this has to do with. So you can't just pick this out of air and not have some thought behind it. You got to sit down and you really got to think about it. And if you're married, both you and your spouse, you need to sit down and think about it. And I find a lot of times that they don't. They don't talk about it. And so you have two people are on different pages, and that's not really good either. So this is a good opportunity to really dream build. Just say, if we retire now, what are we going to do? What's that look like? What activities are we going to be involved in? Retire to something, not from something. So because just go into the next phase of your life, we have a sign at the end of our hallway that says, cheers to your best years. And literally, we're cheersing your best years. Your best years are not behind you, they're in front of you. And retirement is so key, but planning for a good retirement. And that has to do with picking the right date. Do you want to retire early? Do you want to enjoy those golden years while you're still young? What's that mean to you? Maybe you want to, maybe you have a lot of vibrance. You want to go out and you want to travel, but maybe on the other side, you're thinking, well, I don't know, maybe I need to beef up my retirement a little bit by working a little bit longer. So really, timing is everything. Some people don't know when they can retire, and that's when it becomes really a math problem. So what we tell people is it's easy to run lots of scenarios. Hey, what's it look like if I retire at 65? How much money am I going to have left if I reach 95? If I retire at 66, how much money am I going to retire at 95?
Right.
And so sometimes we'll run a scenario and somebody will say, well, I'm going to retire at 60, but then their money's going to run out by the time they hit 92. But then sometimes we can tweak it a little bit and say, well, what if you work till 62 and maybe their money lasts to 98, in which case that's a lot more peace of mind. So it's just a math problem. It's a math equation, but you just have to actually do the planning behind it. Can't just avoid that part.
Right. And then next, where do you want to live when you're retired? We've talked about this before, Nick. Depending on where you retire, that can really affect your retirement savings.
Well, and are you living in a state that has state taxes, one that doesn't? What's the cost of living in that area versus other areas? What is your perfect day? It consists of, what are you doing? Where are you at when you're having those perfect days? Are you wanting to kick back on the beach? Is that what you're wanting to do? Sip on a margarita? Is it, I want to be in I just talked to somebody yesterday who's in their cabin. Their peaceful place is a cabin in North Carolina. And the cost of living is rather low. Now it's 35 minutes to the local grocery store, but that was what they had in mind. That is their dream. But you also got to look at this too, are you a family person? Being in a cabin might be cool now, but what happens when you have grandkids?
Right.
It's a lot longer trip to go visit them. What happens when you get older and you're not able to maybe take care of yourself? Who's going to take care of you? Where's the nearest hospital? Where's the nearest family member to help you out? Do you live in a one-story house right now? Maybe you live in a two-story and you're thinking, maybe that's not the place you can be because you can't go up. You don't, when you're 60 or 55, going up and down a flight of stairs, no big deal. But when you're 80 or 85, going up and down a flight of stairs can be scary and daunting. So there's a lot of those decisions that you have to put into thought to figure out, when you get to retirement, what am I actually doing when I get there, and where am I living?
Right. And you touched on this already, but you got to ask yourself, how is your health? And keep in mind, of course, healthcare is often your biggest expense in retirement.
Well, you might be fine now. And a lot of people say, oh, I'm fine now. Yeah, but we're going to stay that way. I mean, I'm sure your parents too were fine at one point in their lives, and as time went on, they weren't that healthy, and it's something that we can't control. So I just pulled off some sheets here from Fidelity. Fidelity actually shows that The normal out-of-pocket healthcare expense estimate for a 65-year-old couple is going to be $315,000. And that just covers medical expenses like copays, coinsurance, deductibles, hospital visits, doctor visits, Medicare Part B and Part D premiums, and your generic drugs, branded drugs, and specialty drugs. $315,000 an average couple over 65 is going to be spending on that stuff. And that doesn't even count long-term care. And so that Fidelity in another study said that those healthcare expenses are going up by 5.1% per year.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and we talked about long-term care just a second ago. And if you look right there, in Central Florida, a private room nursing home stay is $10,646 per month, $120,000 a year for a long-term care facility. And it's not even counted in those numbers that I talked about. And by 2044, I think I see that there, that's 20 years from now, it's going to be almost $20,000, $240,000 per year for a one-year stay in a private nursing home facility. And the average stay is 3 years. So you have to keep in mind what these expenses are, and you need to have a long-term care plan. Now, if you want to self-fund, then fine. See if it's manageable. See if you can cover those costs. But a plan is not this. Well, I'll worry about it when I get there, or my kids will take care of me. Well, have you talked to your kids about it? Well, no, I haven't talked to them, but we'll have that conversation. I mean, these are things that you don't want to kick down the road. These are things you want to try and address sooner than later.
Right, right. Number 4 is, when is the best time to claim Social Security? This could be one of the most important financial decisions you make in your retirement.
Well, and Social Security is part of your retirement income, but not all. And I think I almost look at it like a retirement sundae, like an ice cream sundae. You know, an ice cream sundae is going to have lots of different parts to it. Just a scoop of ice cream is not a sundae. Social Security to me is like the toppings of that sundae. But a lot of people, they think it's the whole sundae. Well, if you planned for it that way, what happens if they cut benefits? Which they're actually saying they can pay 80% of the benefits after 2034. So here they might cut Social Security. So you just want to look at Social Security as part of the sundae. And if you just look here, these are how much benefits there are as time goes on. And you can definitely see there's a lot more benefits the longer you wait than the shorter you wait. And I looked at another study too. It said the average Social Security benefit for a 70-year-old person right now is $2,000 for the man and $1,600 for the woman. So that's $3,600 of total Social Security benefits for the average 70-year-old. So I did some numbers, because what a lot of people don't do is they don't maximize their Social Security. And so I looked at Social Security maximization. And so if you maximized your Social Security, a 70-year-old couple could get, instead of $3,600 a month of Social Security benefits, $5,700 a month of Social Security benefits through just an optimized strategy. And if we look at what that is, that's like $2,000 more per month. That's $24,000 a year in extra benefits. Yet studies are showing that the average Americans are actually settling for a far lower Social Security benefit because they're not maximizing the benefits.
A lot of misconceptions around Social Security. Last and perhaps most important, Nick, because retirement is so much more than just a number in your bank account, you need to determine if you have a holistic financial plan that accounts for inflation, longevity, and of course, your specific retirement goals.
Well, if we just look at inflation, that was one thing that you mentioned. Inflation they're saying, oh, it's lower now. It's only 3%. Well, but that's 3% compounded on last year's 5%, compounded on the previous year's 8%. So it's not just 3%. So we can't look at it that way. If we look at longevity, I still have people that will come in and tell me I'm going to live until I'm probably like 83 because that's how long mom and dad lived till. But now we all know somebody who's living into their mid to late 90s. I look at it like a ladder. If we think about a 5-rung ladder, most people, they don't have a holistic plan, but a holistic plan should have 5 rungs to this ladder. The very first rung of that ladder is an investment plan. And I think most people have an investment plan where their savings are. So they are 1 rung up on that ladder. But the next rung up on that ladder, the second rung, is a retirement income plan. How do I take those investments and make it last as long as I do? Most people don't have that. And then the next rung up from that is a tax plan. How am I tax efficient in retirement, not paying unnecessary taxes? That's the next rung. The rung up from that would be healthcare. How do I plan for these healthcare things? And the rung up from that would be the estate plan. So you almost have this ladder that should have these 5 parts. But what I find is missing is people have one rung of that ladder. They have the investment plan and the other rungs aren't there. And a lot of these people, they actually have financial advisors, which is the scary thing. So they're paying a financial advisor 100% of the fee,
Right.
but getting 20% of the plan, or they're getting part of a ladder when there's so many more parts to it than that. So definitely holistic planning, getting all those pieces put together is what helps successful people get to and through retirement.
Right. I've heard before, Nick, if your advisor is just talking about investments, you need a new advisor.
That's just one part, 20% of it. Right.
So, Nick, if somebody would like to come to you to talk through these questions with you, maybe bring their spouse or significant other along, what's the best way to reach you?
Really, it's call our phone number here at the office, which is 844-GROUP-10. And you can schedule, the easiest way is just schedule a 15-minute strategy session call where we can figure out what's going on and if there's some things that need to be addressed, changed, fixed. If there's any red flags that pop up. And we also have an online calendar. You can go to our website, group10financial.com, and our online calendar is right there. And that's the easiest way because you can sit in the comfort of your home and we can spend 15 minutes together and see if there's anything that needs to be addressed before the can gets kicked down the road. Right. And a bigger problem, ensues as a result of kicking the can down the road.
Great. All right, Nick, thanks for your time today.
Great being with you, Erin.